Hey, good morning to those of you out there in the West Coast, and good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. Nice sunny day. I'm excited about the day for sure. I like sunny days. Today, we're going to be talking about getting found by federal buyers and teammates, a different way of looking at it. Um, and I'm with you, Veronica. It's a pretty cool picture. I'm always having fun trying to figure out what kind of picture could align to the training that I'm doing. So, yes, that was a pretty cool picture on there. I wanted to give a quick tip before we get started for those of you who maybe aren't tracking. This tip's about the Air Force, but you can apply this to other agencies where it makes sense. But this magazine, I don't know if you can see it there, but the Air and Space Forces, you can go to airandSpaceForces.com. This magazine is awesome because inside of it, you can get information about what's going on at the Air Force, kind of a higher level. And there's two reasons I really like this organization. It's like $50 or $100 or something a year to become a member. But one is they put out information that could be helpful when I'm supporting downstream subordinate commands within the Air Force. So the magazine puts out articles saying, hey, here's what leadership is thinking. Well, some of that, if it applies to me, I can go and put my own spin on and communicate that down to commanders down below who maybe aren't even tracking on it. And so I can get ahead of opportunities. I can get ahead of the discussion by bringing them information that's related to their own organization. And so you can apply that across the board to Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security, wherever people are putting out information. So the other reason I like Air and Space Forces as an organization is they do the best annual report or almanac, I think is what they call it, every year. And it's got 22, 25 pages. Maybe it's got a lot more. But just tells you everything about the Air Force. If you're trying to understand a customer and go down, I always talk about strategic documents. And so you want to find ones like that. But if Air Force is your target customer, definitely go join airandSpaceForces.com. That organization, they're well worth it. I've found a lot of value there. Okay, let me go ahead and turn that caption going across the start, and we can dive into today's training on getting found by federal buyers and teammates. If you don't know who I am, I'm Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to my daily LinkedIn Live federal sales training, where I teach process and procedures, tips for success in the federal market. I want you to have success like I've had success in the past. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow the process A through Z, right, all the steps in between, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And that's what I want for you as well. Do me a favor, if you haven't done so already, help me and help buyers and help the others in the community remember who you are by putting your company name and your core competency into the chat. 2 or 3 words is fine that just tell us, hey, this is what we do. And the other thing is, as we go along, this is your community. The people in the chat with you are other folks in the government market. And so engage with each other. Maybe you take it offline and you start a business relationship on the outside where you might fit in going after the same agency. The other thing is, as I go along, I might ask you to put in some words into chat just to let me know you're tracking on what I'm teaching. When I ask for that, do that. Engage with me. It makes it lively, but it also gives me a little feedback. Finally, I wanted to say thank you to our sustaining members, the sustaining members of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. Without you, we could not make possible what we do year after year. We don't take federal government funding. This is all sustaining member funded. And so I appreciate it. We just want to say thank you. Okay, so we're going to dive into the training. Today will be a different way where I'm kind of reminding myself of my notes down below. And I think I might look to the side for a second because that's more fun for me. But I'm going to cover 3 things in today's topic. So in this lesson for getting found by federal buyers and teammates, I want to give you 3 new ways of me talking about how you can be findable. So first, I want to talk about why and how you can be findable. What does that even mean, right? I'm going to explain that, and I'll give you tips on how to do that. I'm going to talk about how to master your top keywords. Keywords are really the most important thing to being found. And so we'll talk about that, the value of it, the importance of it, and then how to really think about your keywords and maybe how you can go away today operating or improving your keywords. And then the last one I want to cover is how to look like a subject matter expert, a SME, right? And so when somebody finds you, being findable, you want to look like a subject matter expert, so they then want to talk to you as well. So those are the three things we're going to talk about: findable, keywords, and SME, subject matter expert. So let me start with just on why you want to be findable, right? Think about when you have something wrong in your office or in your house, and let's say you need a plumber, right? You go to Google and you just pull up Google and you type in plumber. You might type in leaky pipe, something like that, right? But you're typing in keywords into Google so that it can search and then return results to you saying, hey, here's the plumbers that we found, or here's the plumbers that are near you if you use your location setting. And so searching, being findable, is if somebody searches for you in any manner, you want to be found for the times that you want to be found. So an example is if you're a cybersecurity company, you want to be found anytime they're looking for a cybersecurity company. If you're a HubZone in a cybersecurity company, right, you want to be found anytime they are searching for a HubZone cybersecurity company. And that's pretty normal for how the federal government does that. The other thing about why it's important to be findable, why you want to even think about being findable, is that it's passive marketing. I describe marketing in two ways, right? There's active marketing that you can do, and there's passive marketing, or passive selling and active selling. And basically, it's the difference between what you can do yourself, knocking on a door, going out to a conference and handing somebody your flyer. That's active marketing. That's active selling. Passive marketing and passive selling is when somebody finds you, when your website comes up in a search result, when your LinkedIn profile comes up in a search result, when different profiles come up in a search result. That's passive marketing. It happens whether you're there or not. And so if you've got your website all squared away and it's got the right keywords in there, then when somebody's looking for a plumber or cybersecurity or elevator repair person, right, they're going to find you if you're using the right keywords. And so it's important to understand the difference between active and passive marketing. I did a training, you can go find it, where I describe active and passive marketing for 30 minutes, right? I go deep into it and I describe the different tools that you use. So let me talk about how can you be findable, right? One of the biggest things about being findable is you got to think about, where are they looking? Where's your buyers? Where are your buyers, or where are your teammates looking when they're trying to find a company like yours, right? You might think Google, and that's a fair guess because Google is where we tend to go for everything. But in the federal market, where they go first and foremost are into supplier portals. And the number one supplier portal, the number one market research tool in the federal space, is the Dynamic Small Business Search tool. It's SAM, your SAM registration, and Dynamic Small Business Search. They make up your small business profile. And so when the buyer is doing market research and they're typing in words like HubZone or cybersecurity, for example, this is the tool they're searching in. You want to have your profile in the Dynamic Small Business Search tool complete. I mean, fully complete, so that anything they're searching for that relates to you, you have there so that you're findable. You know, the DSBS tool serves it back up to you. And it's really important to remember, 7 or 8 out of companies are completely invisible to the buyer because they don't have capability narratives filled out. Your DSBS profile is empty. If you don't know what DSBS is, or if you don't understand how valuable it is, just search, whether you search on my website or you search in our YouTube channel, search DSBS and you will see all this content. I don't think I speak on anything more than Dynamic Small Business Search, because it is the fundamental, the anchoring foundation stone of your entire business. And so if you're a business developer or capture in somebody's company, right, go check that out, learn about it, figure out where it's at, and see if it's doing well. And if it's not, take care of that. That's being findable. Also, you know, you can think about LinkedIn profile, making sure similar type of information is on your LinkedIn profile, putting your capability statement on your LinkedIn profile, going into supplier portals, right? Where do teammates look, especially large businesses? They have their own supplier portals. Are you registered in those supplier portals? If you go into the GovCon Chamber of Commerce website, or www.govconchamber.com, right on the homepage, you'll see a free ebook that we provide that are I think it's 100 different supplier portals, not just large primes, but actually agencies have their own, like HHS or NavAir. And so we have, I think, over 100 different supplier portals in there. You want to register in those portals that matter to what you're selling, right? So if you're trying to work with GDIT or Lockheed or somebody, Make sure you're in their portal. So when their internal buyers are looking, you're findable. All of that stuff is available. It's free on our website, that supplier portal directory, made possible by the sustaining members, right? But it's this stuff. We don't want to gate it. We want you to have it so that you can grow. So if it makes sense what I'm saying about being findable, do me a favor, put Be Findable into the chat. Let me know you're tracking on what I'm saying here about the difference between passive and active marketing, and passive marketing, passive sales is being findable. Okay, so let's move on to how to focus on your top keywords. This is really important because what I have found in my experience is that sometimes we understand a little bit of a topic, but we don't fully understand it. Think about an iceberg, right? There's this great example graphic out there that shows the iceberg, and you've got a little bit of the ice above the ocean surface, and that's kind of like what we know. But underneath it is this huge glacier, this huge iceberg underneath the water, and that's all the stuff that maybe we're not aware of. And so something like keywords, you might know what keywords are, but are you really fully embracing, or is your team, your colleagues fully embracing keywords? And so first off, just so we're on the same page of what a keyword is just, if you're in cybersecurity, it's cybersecurity, right? If you're in SharePoint, it's SharePoint. It could also be a keyword phrase. So a couple of words that are brought together. I use government contracting, right? So whenever I'm talking, I often use those two words. If you're in SharePoint, maybe you do migrations. So it's SharePoint migrations, elevator maintenance. Those type of things are called keyword phrases, or sometimes they're called long keywords. But either way, you need to know what are your top three, and then of those three, as you expand out, what are your top 25 or 50 keywords? What are the buyers searching? And that's something really important to understand when you're trying to use keywords. Don't use every keyword out there. Try to get really niched down into keywords that define what you sell and where you can specialize. An example I've used in the past is, say, for example, you sell food. Well, that keyword is too big, right? It's not a problem, but you haven't niched down enough. And so then you say, well, I sell produce. It's like, okay, well, what's below produce? Well, I sell fruit, actually. Okay, well, what's below fruit? Well, really, we sell apples. Perfect. So you're the apple company. Well, actually, we don't just sell apples. We are the best manufacturer or grower or whatever of Granny Smith apples, those green apples that got a little bit of tartness to them. That's what we sell better than anybody else, right? I've niched down from food all the way down to Granny Smith apples. And so along those ways, I've got keywords that I want to use, but I want to pay attention to the fact that, hey, our niche is apples or Granny Smith apples. And so consider doing that with your own. When I say at the beginning of this training, put your 2 or 3 keywords in, I'm looking for what are your top keywords. The top keywords are what you get other people to remember about you. And when we remember those top keywords about you, we might go, oh, cybersecurity. You know what? Somebody was asking me about risk management framework. Is that your space? But at least I'm looking to you, right? And it opens the door for me to have more conversations, or buyers, or your colleagues right here in the chat. So one of the things I wanted to mention on the keywords is just tracking on the dynamic small business search and how you can use that to find keywords. So there's 2 ways you can find keywords. Once you run out of room on your whiteboard exercise, you're like, I can't think of any others. 2 ways you can add more keywords. First off, go see what your competitors say. Nothing wrong with doing that, right? Learn from others. And so go into the dynamic small business search tool where people have put many keywords in describing their company. And so if you do software engineering or DevSecOps, for example, development, security, and operations, if you do DevSecOps, go into the dynamic small business search tool, DSBS. And by the way, I think it's like dsbs.sba.gov. But if you go in there, you can search yourself for DevSecOps, and you'll see all these results coming back. And from the results that come back, you can look at the ones you like. You go, oh, I hadn't thought of agile software development. I hadn't thought of software development lifecycle, things like that, right? You can begin to see keywords. You're not plagiarizing or stealing. You're not grabbing their whole thing. You're just reminding yourself, refreshing your memory of what other keywords are used to describe what you sell. So the dynamic small business search tool will easily have 1,000 companies that do what you do, that have gone through this exercise at one level or another, that you might be able to refresh your memory on. The other one is if you're looking for keywords, I always talk about speaking the language of your buyer, right? You don't want to use keywords that you go, oh, this is how this is described. It's like, well, who cares? What you need to align is this is how the buyer describes what you sell. So if I say Granny Smith apples, but the government calls it green apples, then I need to sit there and make sure I'm saying green apples. I can still say Granny Smith, but I want to make sure I'm saying it the way they say it, because they might go, I don't know, Granny Smith from, Daddy Smith apples or whatever, right? The idea is to use their language when you're coming up with your keywords. So you have your way of talking about it, but you also include their way of talking about it. One of my favorite ways and the easiest ways for you to be able to do this is to just go to your agency of choice. Let's say it's FEMA or it's Navy. Go into your agency of choice and find their strategic documents. Typical strategic documents are, 2023 strategy or strategic plan, 2021 annual report. That's another strategic document saying, hey, here's what we did. You might look at the budget. When you look into the budget, they have short descriptions of projects that they work on or programs. By looking at these strategic documents and beginning to consume them, not only are you researching your agency and learning more, but you can begin to find words that they use. Maybe you learn that they never say in this agency cybersecurity as one word. They say cybersecurity as two words, or they say cybersecurity, or they spell cybersecurity with a hyphen, right? And that's important, because if that's how they say it in their strategic documents, then there's a good chance that their buyers and market researchers are also using words like that. And so look at a government strategic documents and you'll be able to find a lot of good keywords. Okay, so if that made sense, put in top keywords into the chat. Let me know that you understand that you must, and your colleagues inside of your company must understand what are the top keywords used to find companies like ours, right? What are the top 3 we think are important, and what are the top 3 that are coming from the government? Whatever those keywords are, you want to make sure you know them and you're getting them into the tools that people will use to search for a company like yours. So put top keywords into the chat. And I'm going to move on into the third training topic here about how to look like a subject matter expert. So let me put it in perspective, right? You've done your keywords and people are finding you, right? So buyers or teammates, they're searching on DSBS, or they're searching in Google, or they're searching on LinkedIn. They're searching for a company like yours, a company that might do artificial intelligence as an example. When they find you, you want to present yourself and your company as a subject matter expert in that topic that they just found you in. So if I stick with artificial intelligence as an example, if somebody is coming in and they search for artificial intelligence, they saw my profile or they saw my company's website and it came up somehow, and they come into a second set of marketing assets, the website, my LinkedIn profile, et cetera. If they come in there and they're looking for artificial intelligence or AI, what they don't want to see is Apple's International or something, right? They're not looking for fruit. They're looking for artificial intelligence, emerging technology, machine learning. And so anything that my marketing material is going to be presenting back to them should be saying that, hey, yes, first off, we are experts in artificial intelligence, machine learning, emerging technologies, et cetera. This is our space and we are experts at it, because here's everything else we're saying. And it all screams artificial intelligence, data management, data science. Those things are all kind of fit together. When they read that, they will begin to get this impression that we are subject matter experts at that you are subject matter experts at what you and your company do. And so one thing to keep in mind is that consistency is really important. I mentioned the number one market research tool in the federal government space is DSBS. In fact, put that in the chat, would you? DSBS rules. That's where everybody goes when they have nowhere else to go for the small business. And so understand the most powerful tool out there, DSBS rules. So you want consistency though in DSBS, in your website, in LinkedIn, on LinkedIn profiles for you and for your colleagues. There should be this consistency when they look at that material and they look at your capability statement. All of it is saying data science or artificial intelligence, machine learning, or emerging technology. It tells this consistent story that this is what we do. When you were looking for AI and you found us, you truly did find an AI company. Now let us tell you about our experiences. Let us provide some case studies or white papers. That all of it just keeps reinforcing that message of we are the subject matter experts. We are the SMEs. That's what I want you to be doing as well. Inside of DSBS, by the way, you've got capability narratives. And so these narratives, if you're not familiar with it, there's 2 of them. They're 1,000 characters each. And then there's a third field called keywords, and that's 525 characters. So these 2,500 characters, though, are what people are searching on. But the 2 narratives, that capability narrative and the second narrative, it's called special equipment, but just the second narrative, those 2 should be telling this story that says, we have been doing artificial intelligence in the federal market for this long. We have supported multiple agencies in civilian and defense side, including, Navy and Department of Education or something. As they continue to do their research coming out, they want to begin to see that same level of expertise. Well, one of the ways you can encourage that expertise is by engaging or posting on LinkedIn, by engaging and posting on YouTube, right? If you don't put out if you do artificial intelligence, let's say, and that's just my topic for today, Amit, by the way, I think he might be in here, and that's a good one. But if you don't, if you're not engaged on YouTube, then you're missing one of the biggest search engines out there. So if somebody's looking for artificial intelligence in the federal space or something, if you have a YouTube video out there, they can find you. And a YouTube video doesn't have to be this. They don't have to see your face if you don't want them to. You can just have a series of slides that tell a decent message. And that video can be 5 minutes or 10 minutes if they can come in and get a quick topic. What is AI? What is ML? How does AI and ML fit with HR departments within the Department of Navy? Something like that, right? These shorter videos could be done with slides, and you can put them together. These are things that if you engage with social media platforms out there, then when somebody is looking for you and they're looking across these platforms, whether it's DSBS, their capability statement, your website, YouTube, they will see a consistent message. And when somebody begins to know you through this process, then they will begin to want to reach out to you and talk to you and say, hey, can you come in and talk to us about our needs? Or if it's a teammate, hey, we're going after this opportunity. We'd love to have you on the team. So if this made sense, do me a favor, put remove friction into the chat. Because when you have consistency and you're showing them that you're a subject matter expert, you're removing friction out of their job, right? When they come down and they search for artificial intelligence, and then they every kind of step and everything they're looking at is just reinforcing, yep, this is a AI company, then you're removing the friction from them on trying to decide whether they go to you. I call it, getting on the short list. You want to get on that short list. Well, the easiest way to get on the short list is to remove friction. One thing to keep in mind as you're creating this material about being a subject matter expert, you're not trying to show off how smart you are, right? The reality is if you're really good, then you will be able to take, brilliant level stuff and bring it down into 3rd to 5th grade understanding words, right? So think about simple over complex. You're not trying to communicate elevators or artificial intelligence or cybersecurity in the most complex ways. You're trying to do it in a simple way where your customer and your teammates can see you fitting into it. And they see your other material that begins to reinforce that if they want you to go up to the next level, and I'm using grade levels here, but go from a 3rd grade level to a 12th grade, they can feel it. But you've got to invite people in by being simple so they can read your words and quickly understand, oh, you do artificial intelligence and machine learning. Something as simple as just not using acronyms only, but spelling it out can make it simple compared to complex. Anyways, hopefully that all made sense. So in here, just reinforcing this again about getting found by federal buyers and teammates, it's important to have them be able to find you because you can't find them all the time. And so 3 things I wanted you to just pay attention to is why it's important to be findable and how to be findable, right? So keep that in mind. Second thing is to make sure you master your keywords. That goes right along with being findable, right? But master your keywords because it also goes into telling your story as you go out and have meetings. And then the third thing is make sure you look like a subject matter expert. Nobody really wants to buy from a plumber, going back to my first story, right? Who does everything, right? This plumber does my landscaping. They'll work on my car. If you need me to do some IT projects, I've done some app development. It's like at some point they're like, okay, you're working on too much. I want somebody who's working on specialty. Even if you have multiple things you work on, make sure you're able to communicate those in a way that show you're a subject matter expert in each of the areas, the core competencies that you're communicating out there. So Hopefully that made sense to you. If you found value in today's training, do me a favor, consider becoming a sustaining member of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. We appreciate that. It helps us keep bringing this content to you. If you had any questions about what I talked about, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and direct message me in there. I'll try to get back to you on that. Remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is coming back. So I will see you in the next training.